my best friend raised a toast and announced, "Everyone, let's celebrate. I'm going to be a father, and the mother is my friend's wife." As laughter filled the room, my wife smirked. "And since we live in a no-fault state, there's nothing you can do." I remained silent, walked out, and returned holding something that turned their smug smiles into terror. Within minutes, I set a plan in motion that left them ruined beyond repair. This story unfolds in Austin, Texas, a city known for its vibrant culture and tight-knit communities. Texas is a no-fault divorce state, meaning that either spouse can file for divorce without proving wrongdoing by the other party. I'm a 42-year-old man who has been married to my wife, Rachel, for 15 years. We have 2 children together, and I considered my best friend, Mark, to be like a brother. Our families were close, often spending holidays and vacations together. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when Mark invited us over for a barbecue at his place. Friends and family gathered, enjoying the food and drinks. As the evening progressed, Mark stood up, clinking his glass to get everyone's attention. "Everyone," he began, "I have some exciting news to share. I'm going to be a father." Cheers erupted, but then he added, "And the mother is my friend's wife." Laughter filled the room, but I stood there, stunned. Rachel smirked and said, "And since we live in a no-fault state, there's nothing you can do." I remained silent, walked out, and returned holding a folder containing evidence of their affair, photos, messages, and receipts. Their smug smiles turned into expressions of terror. Within minutes, I set a plan in motion. I filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, and sought full custody of our children. I also reported Mark to his employer for violating company policies, leading to his termination. Rachel and Mark were left ruined beyond repair. Their reputations were tarnished, and they faced financial hardships. I focused on rebuilding my life, providing a stable environment for my children. After the toast, I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood there while the room turned quiet, unsure if this was some sick joke. I looked at Rachel. She didn't flinch. Her eyes held that look, you know the one. Like she was proud of what she'd done. Everyone was still trying to process it. Some people laughed nervously, thinking maybe Mark had drunk too much. But no. He meant every word. I walked out without saying a word. Drove home. I didn't even tell Rachel to come with me. I knew she wouldn't anyway. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my office, going over everything, texts, receipts, photos, late-night calls. This wasn't a one-time thing. They'd been sneaking around for 2 years. While I was coaching our son's soccer team, they were sleeping together. While I took care of Rachel after her surgery, she was texting him under the blanket. The next morning, she walked in like nothing had happened. She poured herself coffee, sat down, and said, "You really didn't see it coming?" I said nothing. Then she said it again. "It's a no-fault state. You can't touch me." I remember gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. But I stayed calm. Quiet. The next day, I visited a lawyer. Not the kind you find on TV ads. This guy was quiet, sharp, and lethal. He didn't say much. Just looked over the evidence and said, "We're going to make them wish they never met." We filed for divorce. I asked for full custody. I knew Rachel would fight back. But I also knew she didn't have a job, she hadn't worked in years. I had the house, the car, the kids' trust. And I had evidence. But here's where it gets worse. 2 days after I served her papers, I found out she'd emptied one of our savings accounts. 20 grand. Gone. I called the bank. Too late. She transferred it to an account I didn't know existed. I confronted her. She shrugged. Needed a head start. "I'm pregnant, remember?" That hit like a truck. She wasn't just playing games, she was playing war. But it didn't end there. Mark's wife, Sarah, sweet woman, always quiet at our BBQs, showed up at my door. She looked like a ghost. Turns out, she didn't know either. Mark had told her I was the one cheating. That I was the bad guy. She believed it, until that toast. We sat at my kitchen table, both of us barely holding it together. She started crying, saying she had nowhere to go. I let her stay in the guest room. That night, everything changed. We started piecing it all together. Turns out, this wasn't just a simple affair. Rachel and Mark had opened a side business together. A wellness brand. Supplements, yoga gear. Sounded like a scam, and it was. They used my identity and Sarah's credit to take out loans. We were the financial backers without knowing it. My lawyer dug in. We froze their assets. We found a paper trail that went back 18 months. Fraud. Identity theft. Federal charges were now in play. Rachel and Mark didn't see that coming. But the real twist came when Rachel's own sister messaged me. She sent screenshots. Turns out, Rachel had also been sleeping with her ex-husband. This woman didn't just cheat. She made it a career. I kept it all. Every screenshot, every email. Even the ones where she joked about draining me dry. I gave it to my lawyer, and we handed it over to the police. Then CPS got involved. Not because I called them, but because they found out about Rachel's drug use. Yep. That too. Mark had a stash in his garage. Pills. Weed. Stuff they didn't even hide well. The thing is, Rachel and Mark thought they were untouchable. They thought smug smiles and bold declarations would save them. They thought because they were in Texas, and it's a no-fault state, they could walk away clean. They were wrong. A week after freezing their accounts, Rachel showed up at my work. Not at my house. Not through text. She walked straight into the lobby of my office building like she owned the place, wearing some flashy designer knockoff and big sunglasses like she was a celebrity. I was in the middle of a meeting when the receptionist buzzed in, whispering, "Your wife's here, and she's causing a scene." I went down, heart pounding, expecting maybe an apology. A breakdown. Regret, even. Nope. She held up a manila envelope and smiled. "You really thought you could outsmart me?" Inside? A prenup. Signed 15 years ago. Back when I had nothing. Back when I was just a junior tech at Dell, and she was still in school. It said if we ever divorced, she'd get half of everything I owned, regardless of fault, regardless of circumstances. Only problem? It was a fake. See, I never signed a prenup. We couldn't even afford a wedding photographer, let alone a lawyer. I looked at her and said, "This is forged." And she laughed. Full-blown, loud, echoing laugh in the middle of the lobby. "You can't prove it." And that's when I realized she had more plans. Worse ones. Later that night, I got a knock on the door. Police. Apparently, someone filed a domestic violence complaint against me. Said I'd hit her. Said I was abusive. They didn't arrest me, but they wrote up a report. It was enough to muddy the waters in court. I was furious. She was trying to destroy me completely, just to get out of the mess she created. Thankfully, I had security cams installed months ago. My lawyer pulled the footage, me cooking dinner, helping the kids with homework, sleeping on the damn couch. Not a single moment of abuse. We cleared it. But she wasn't done. Mark had disappeared. I mean completely vanished. Deleted his socials. Quit his job before the company could fire him. Word around was he took off to Mexico. Sarah tried to reach him, nothing. It was like he fell off the planet. Then Sarah found a burner phone under their bed. Inside it were photos, dozens, of Rachel and Mark together. But not just the two of them. There were other people. Men. Women. All in weird setups. Parties. Hotels. It looked like blackmail material. Turns out, they were running a side hustle. Setting people up. Recording them. Using those recordings to get favors. Loans. Contracts. Dirty stuff. We handed it all to the police. FBI got involved after that. I started getting emails from strangers. People Rachel and Mark scammed. One guy said he gave them $50,000 for a fake investment deal. Another said he was threatened with leaked footage if he didn't wire them money. It wasn't just an affair. It was an operation. And then came the biggest twist of all. Sarah found out she was pregnant. And the timeline? It didn't line up with me or Mark. She'd been faithful. But a few months before the toast, she'd gone on a work retreat and drank too much. She didn't know who the father was. Now there were 2 pregnancies, 2 messed up families, and a federal investigation. My kids were starting to ask questions. I kept it together for them. But inside? I was burning. Every time I looked at Rachel's face in those photos, every time I heard her voice in my head saying, "You can't touch me," I felt the rage crawl up my spine. I wanted revenge. Not just legal justice. I wanted her exposed. So I reached out to a friend from college. He runs a podcast. True crime. I gave him the story, minus the kids' details. He verified the documents. Within a week, it went viral. Thousands of listens. Hundreds of shares. People started connecting dots. More victims came forward. Rachel's face was all over the internet. Mark's too, despite being on the run. I didn't plan it that way. But it happened. And then, one morning, I got a letter in the mail. Not from a lawyer. From Rachel. A handwritten note, 5 pages long. She said she never loved me. Said I was just a safe choice. Said she always knew she'd end up with someone like Mark. That I was too boring, too predictable. But she also wrote something else. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Don't come looking. And that was it. No forwarding address. No return name. Just a P.O. box in El Paso. I showed it to my lawyer. He shrugged. She's scared. I'm not sure what scared her. The FBI? The podcast? The dozens of people now circling to take them both down? Or maybe, just maybe, she finally realized I wasn't the boring guy she married. I was the guy who kept receipts. And now? Now I'm just getting started. It was a Saturday morning when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up. I was pouring cereal for my daughter when it rang again. On the 3rd ring, I answered. It was Mark. His voice was calm. Too calm. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't respond right away. Just stared at the wall. He added, "I'll be in Austin on Monday. One time. One place. Bring Sarah if she wants answers." He hung up. I didn't even tell Sarah right away. I wasn't sure what the hell to think. Why would he come back? What could he possibly say that mattered now? But I went. So did Sarah. We met at an old park we used to take the kids to. It was quiet. Empty. Cold. Mark was there, sitting on a bench, wearing sunglasses and a hoodie like someone in witness protection. Rachel was with him. The second Sarah saw her, she lost it. Walked up and slapped her across the face. No warning. No words. Just all the pain from the past few months unloaded in one hit. Rachel didn't even react. She just looked at the ground. Mark stood up and held out his hands like some kind of peacemaker. "Listen, just listen," Sarah shouted. "You ruined everything." He said nothing for a second, then finally said the words I didn't expect to hear. "It was never supposed to go this far." Apparently, the blackmail scheme started out as a joke. Just some dumb scam they tried on a coworker who cheated on his wife. It worked. Money came in. So they kept doing it. More people. More recordings. They convinced themselves they were exposing bad people, like vigilantes or something. Rachel didn't even deny it. She looked right at me and said, "You were too good. Too straight. You wouldn't understand." That's when I finally snapped. "Too straight? Too good?" I shouted. "I worked. I took care of everything while you were busy screwing half the city and robbing people blind." Her face didn't change. She actually looked bored. That hurt more than anything. Mark kept trying to explain. but I didn't care. I turned to Rachel. Why even tell me at the party? Why humiliate me like that? She blinked, then said, Because I wanted to hurt you. I thought it would feel good. Sarah gasped. That moment, everything just collapsed. No more lies. No more pretending. No more confusion. Just raw truth. Sarah sat down on the bench and started sobbing. She was 8 weeks pregnant and didn't know who the father was. Her whole world had collapsed in less than 2 months. Mark tried to console her. She shoved him away. Then it was just me and Rachel, standing there in silence. Finally I said, You'll get what you deserve. She smirked. I already have. But the truth? She looked empty. She was thin. Pale. Like she hadn't slept in days. She didn't look like someone who won. She looked like someone who had nothing left to lose. They walked away. I didn't follow. Neither did Sarah. That night, I got the final call from my lawyer. The court granted me full custody. Rachel would get supervised visits only, pending the outcome of the fraud charges. Mark was facing 3 separate lawsuits. The podcast episode had gone viral, and now several victims were pressing charges. And Rachel? She'd been fired from her new job after someone recognized her voice from the recordings. She'd lost everything. Not just the marriage. Not just the money. But even her chance at starting over. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel victorious. Just tired. My kids were okay. Confused, but okay. I didn't badmouth their mother. I let them see what they needed to see on their own. Sarah decided to raise the baby on her own. A paternity test later revealed it wasn't Mark's. She cried for a week straight, then started therapy. We still talk sometimes. There's a strange bond between 2 people who survived the same fire. And me? I'm not bitter. Not anymore. I'm healing. Slowly. What I learned is this: sometimes the people closest to you aren't who you think they are. Sometimes love makes you blind. But pain? Pain opens your eyes real fast. I still have trust issues. Still have nights where I wake up angry. Or sad. Or both. But I'm moving forward. One step at a time. Would I take her back if she begged? No. Not now. Not ever. Some people are just poison in your life. And the only way to live is to cut them out. Forever.